How's it going, pod watchers? I am back to doing this. We're on the courtroom section of the Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. Well, let's just hop right into it, huh? Oh, it's the 20th of February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Let's go. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? We are on a study tour of Great Britain. The intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court. It could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Yo, Chewy, congrats on being first. What up? Are you enjoying your day off? Good? Yeah. So when you put it like that... Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Yes, I am. Are you? Yeah, dude. Dude, I slept in like crazy. Good morning! Oh, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Oh dear, are you alright? Eyes are terribly bloodshot. Hello? Oh, what up, Eddie? The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Are you a Grand Blue fan? Not really. I played the first game for a bit. I did see that there was a beta. I might try it out. Like later. I might try it out later. But I'm not super into it. Just saw curious there's a beta. Yeah. I'll try the beta. It really does. It feels too slow for me. We'll see. Do all literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Miss Matsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble. Really? Because I can feel tremors on the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, welcome student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes. I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. You know why that might be, Miss Susudo? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea. That all-knowing look on your face is just a coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zykes? Is that right, Miss Susudo? Purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zykes is on the front page of every one. I knew it! Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. Stopped appearing in court, it seemed. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? Can you stop talking about anime fires and get back on Bloodborne? I don't know if Eddie. I don't know if Eddie gonna finish that. Trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zyke's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. Trial of Magus McGilded. Oh, what a harrowing experience that was. Eddie hasn't streamed. Eddie has not streamed in a while. I believe that appearance may be in even greater waves in the capital than today's. We wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the I'm more of a You are more of a streamer now, Conniptions. You be streaming more. It. What happened to the Honkai Star Rail streams? Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon? For what appears to be a mundane murder. Wasn't even a murder. She didn't die. It's a question the papers were asking, and they're all speculating various answers. I got scammed. Oof. You know what? Them's the breaks with anime gacha games. Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Them bitches took away the reward saying was limited. Motherfuckers made up money. That's fucking hilarious. Well, lest we also forget the fact that I could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper! Please, don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers? I'm afraid there's really only one other explanation. It will only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. And they just made up money to get some traffic. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive! Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student new to London with little in the way of experience or skills or luck. But I promise you this: I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, he will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Mrs. Mikotoba Esquire-S. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live. Mr. Natsume, counsel of the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Alright then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yeah. Yes! I like this guy. He's a nervous wreck. This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. Second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. 20th February, 10 o'clock on the dot a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. He's totally a vampire. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me about you. You are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago, a mere amateur. Do you have the point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. After all, our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Very true. The most fascinating, dark trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here stood the acquitted, his unfortunate, violent man. Thank you, consuls. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? These guys care way more about jury duty than people these days. You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe fair play is for everyone. Wait, isn't that the guy from earlier? Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. See is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. I'm afraid to say, it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it. Anyway. Sorry. Didn't quite catch that. Very well, let us proceed. The opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zykes. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst! A bloody oath they are! Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's the one of those dreadful Japanese. Wow, racism, huh? Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great. Allow me to call the first witness to stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Oh, look at him with his fucking fries, potato wedges. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Please summarize the events of the case. Would you please summarize the events of the case? Court, please. Inspector. Victim. The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? Did he even know who she is for sure? Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not been long since stopped It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that right here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch, that big thing is starting to make me scared of walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. All right, okay. Actually, what evidence do we have? Like, what evidence do we have? We got the map, receipt. Okay. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume. From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems she was a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't even been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim. Yes! If theft and grievance had been ruled out as a motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? And you arrested the man in spite of that? In a total unjustified and heavy-handed way? Objection! I like how he has a different font. Ooh, he just lifted that with his two fingers. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle up into the public gallery. Your words have soured its hollow bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who's being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest this Nipponese student. Yes, sir. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed into the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor, those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out It was just a matter of working out who the books could have belonged to. We found the bloke and arrested him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Damn, that lady be round. Wait, did they say her name was Olive? She kind of looks like an olive. Yeah, olive green. Yeah, dude. Look at her. Look at that green olive. Oh yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat, denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, Forgive me, Lord Van Zykes, but the defendant is not denying everything as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Soto? You go on. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Now that you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what all happened. I was walking along that accursed pavement. I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat. Wearing a green overcoat she was. Just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a scream and collapsed onto the cold hard slabs with the stones at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from here. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me and back to my accursed lodgings. Huh. A green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print was wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color. What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of a heinous crime of stabbing a woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there's nobody who could possibly have stabbed a woman. A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. Seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Listen for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. I think normally these first ones just press everything. A light fog, you say? Well, in light for London, you could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I heard that London is famous for its fogs. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your own arm. Indeed, the other day I was very nearly trampled by the horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Susan-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused.
Hold it!
How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simple. Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to the crime had told us. Ah yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? That's right, one of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That's correct, ma'am. And we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will of course call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation in your tiny island of the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the light by gas streetlights. Ah! The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. We really need to hear those witnesses. Just get through the fog of this cross-examination. Be able to. Seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue your testimony, Inspector. behind, you say? That's right. That's right. As you can see from this print. Yes, it's quite so, Inspector. The handle of this weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in a critical condition? Comatose, no less? I'm afraid so, my lord. Yes, she's being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come around before the trial started, so I could take a statement, but that wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. Man can't slam it very, very much. On the contrary, my client is exceedingly unlucky. Why would you say that, dude? Their force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbing wide eyes. Right? Hold it! Do not see his belongings. I think you'll find that all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books, they were irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand. Means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife. Very clever, isn't he? It made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He managed to close one avenue of escape we might have had before we knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into his woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord, yes. Hold it! The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. Shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The books room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Tell us about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is at this place, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Mearcham Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in the lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the routine he would have the road he would have taken home. Something like this. Right, well, we got local map information. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would have certainly have passed the scene of the crime this way on his way home from that particular shop. But the inspector just told us turned out to be of vital importance. Yes, I agree. The important point that the inspector just made was being, I assume, the bookshop's action. Your books. Urban books. You went to your books, though. The name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know. I mean, yes! It could be a very important clue. Very well. Not that I can see it being any great significance. Please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you have to say. Could the man be any more sarcastic? Dude, Chandler Bing right here. Not defense. On his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes. Nice? That patronize does not seem like the right word for that, though.
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson? What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know? This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued the day of the incident, and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. The receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume? Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books from a second-hand bookshop at that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sure. Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from the Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
But in fact, it is the bookshop in which the defendant visited on the day in question.
Objection!
And this receipt proves it. Yes, for what difference it makes? But wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the
Objection!
I disagree! I mean, after all, I have the street map here if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. The defendant had been returning from Bourbon Bookshop. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Bookshop, then yes, he would most certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books. It may very well turn out to be he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true? My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Man just said absolutely maybe. Inspector Gregson, where is this your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. It turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Mircham Street, going east. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, we almost had something there. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown. The way he regales us with such witticism. Your future career in the circus. If you put that glass down now, I'll put you down. I'll put it down. You put that glass down, or I'll pull it down for you. I don't think I need to spell it out here, but here we go. The accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books. There's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate from my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ah! As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try. But I say, eh? I've had enough of this for now. I beg your pardon. Terribly sorry. Would you mind repeating that? Naruto, you mustn't give up. What you mean? The prosecution's assertion is correct. The members of the jury may very well decide Mr. Natsume is guilty. Ah, absolutely right. I think you must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. The named prosecution must have passed the litigation books, but... Alright, well, let's take a look at the map and see if it's worthy of raising an objection. Hey. They think they should have gone this way. But... easily just gone that way. I mean, is there like a more definitive way to prove that? Whatever, dude. Doesn't hurt to raise an objection. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When you're returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume would have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked. Talking back to a clown, there's a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. Ah! On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and it's the obvious perpetrator of this crime. But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which road he took home. I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such question. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this! I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say your insignificant yours? What did he say? Oh well. Okay, so he said, pray, what say you insightful jurors? But even if that was the case, the defense still hold it. I agree with Lord Van Zykes wholeheartedly and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean we members of the jury are completely convinced now? Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Wow, voiced.
Guilty.
It's voiced.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Wow. All right. So that stings. That stings. Hey, let's appeal to the jurors. It would appear the jury's leanings is unanimous. Oh my God, this sucks. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around, somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry, not yet willing to give up and die. But I presume you intended to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will. But it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his Onkus' refusal to throw in his alley. Very well then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will each explain on what grounds you will have determined the defendants are guilty. Alright, let's go. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he? He said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes. Why can only have been the victim? The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his own way back from the bookshop, not in winter. The poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful! I really don't care. Can we wrap this up now? I got work to be doing. Your books, yes. Nice shop that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. Stabbing occurred. The only two people in the scene were the victim and the accused. The accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his very eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant had then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced that Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Oh, why did he have to run away like that? Why? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that no one can see? It's impossible. How can I possibly make the case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. We want to force this trial to continue. Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. Just need to keep going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke, you can do it. Jury examination, let's go. Attack from behind. Before his eyes. Right? Because if she was attacked from behind, she would have collapsed before his eyes? I think?
Objection!
These two statements clearly contradict each other. No, they don't, dude. Sorry. I'm sorry, but as foreman of the jury, I will have to object. That's complete nonsense. What? I'm a banker, don't forget. An educated man. There's no contradiction as far as I can see. Quite so, Mr. Foreman. I will not permit a whimsical attack against the good members of the jury council. There was nothing whimsical about it. It's very important to listen carefully to every juror, Mr. Naruhodo. Then you can decide where the contradictions really lie, if there are any. Alright, well, fine, let's press. You're right at the time of the incident. The defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite, that's precisely the point. Clearly that someone who's wearing green was the victim. And clearly, that funny little Nipponese... Oh, clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. Let's not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. And this man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. If that's a lie, as you're suggesting, do you not think he could have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through there for your funny little minds? Man, she be racist as fuck. I could tell you what's going on in my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. I do declare that the man had already been made the admission. He himself stated that there was nothing else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have committed that awful crime. No one else could have done it. The accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. It is compelling on the simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, you truly are kind, my lord. That went well.
Hold it!
Whatever's the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mrs. Garadev, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume's room? The master's wife? Where did you get your idea, sir? I'm the maid! The maid, you understand. Keeping up the charade. A charade? Gonna be awkward. Why didn't she mention this yesterday? You had been selected for the jury for this trial, I mean. Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear. So I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, you're not assuming the defendant takes lodgings in your master's house, doesn't he? Yes, that's right. Although he'd only been a little over a week now. In that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsumi look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? Oh goodness me, yes! He's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in a dark, dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume. How could people possibly say such things about him? It's a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you called him a worm, so I better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. I've said enough damn things already. God. Is it? You can't deny that you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean? Or was it Calabash Road or something? Precisely. It seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. And at that moment, there's no proof. And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you would want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is this all true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. How am I supposed to be convincing him? I have given it a lot of thought, you know. I just didn't make up on my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason he might have gone to Calabash Road way, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. That's a good reason. I don't imagine you'd be able to sway a young man's opinion without one.
Hold it!
This one's a tough one. Sorry? Hold it, you say? Hold what? No, that's what I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask you was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you were talking about. And what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking up books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're talking about. Just before 5, you see. After you left. Are you sure about the time? Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it all well. But I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. Well, I was walking down the Calabash Road when I slipped on ice and donked my head. It was always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it was most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road? That's right. I live on Cornpipe, you see. Getting down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now. There's a shiver down my spine to hear that the members of the jury are so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. I agree, but it's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends the shivers down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something. We must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunningly. Yes, you're right. And the jurors again, carefully. When even their assertions are on, I'll put them mercilessly against each other. Yes, no hold back. Pit them all against each other. Want to hear that, guys? Okay. I guess I'll press this guy. The man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. Lots of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do my wife and kids. Oh, I see. That's very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. You're late, when the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left and right and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up and fix it up. It's a hard slog for dawn till dusk it is. So, you were digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just around the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Coincidence. That's right. Near Chom Street it was. Near Chom Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there's only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point of that? Can't we just get to this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. Oh, wouldn't have gone around the houses, but if he was digging up the street, bam, right there, objection. Those 2 statements are clearly at odds with one another. Odds, counsel. Explain yourself. Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear. What? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3. Oh, me, sir. What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implication of what's being said on our map in the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop and purchased a number of second-hand books. On the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Mircham Street, making it impassable. Which means the defendant's road home could not have taken him along Mircham Street and down Briar Road. Oh yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer road back home to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Error number 3, he said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But, we see now that he had no choice. Yes! My Lord Judge, sir, if I may... Yes? I don't think in all good conscience I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see the trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir? Who, me? Well, alright then, if there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it can be filled in. That's what I say. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Managed to change a couple minds at least. Strengthened our position some. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stances as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leadings are really right or not. To identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume. We might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zykes is looking at this trial. That's what we have to prevent. Whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, Counselor. With the summation examination, please. Yes, sir. 1 second. Knock on my door. I'm back. My sister got me some stuff. Those are delicious. Oh, I had some. Okay, wait, I need to get some water. Okay, back for real this time, and I forgot to do the BRB screen. If I'm missing a vision kind of thing, but whatever. Let's press this guy. Excuse me, but aren't you? Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face, or the sight of it anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around Bruce Fairplay. It was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay is a man of repute. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that other hatter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have all been badgering me non-stop. I could turn back the clock. Yeah, well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter at least, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Thank goodness. Right. Maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind about given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now. Okay, so I'm like pretty sure it's guy, right? Guy with someone. Over that evening myself on Calabash Road. Oh, he slipped, so the woman could have slipped.
Objection!
Those two statements are clearly show a flaw in the jurors' reasonings. A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2 and juror number 6. Why? Whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. Like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact of which we can be sure of here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot. The man says he has no recollection of his return journey. Correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are well aware of all this. The poor young woman was stabbed, obviously.
Objection!
Can we really be sure of that, madam? Why? Whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard the juror number 6's accounts of what happened to him that day. Was juror number 6 wearing a green coat? Because if he was, makes it so much easier. On that same afternoon, there was someone else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my! My goodness, you mean? That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6. He's wearing a green overcoat. Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman at the end of the bench here with me today? That's entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Look at that. My goodness me. Sorry, you need to pee? And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. Calabash Road. Therefore, the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6. It means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh my! You idiot old man, if you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming around there, we would have boxed this off hours ago. And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat? What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it? My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience. You'd like to change your leaning, I presume. I do declare that I would. I would like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you. I would too. What? Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well, I like the old man. he's like Santa Claus. Well, that submission examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. 2 yeas. The yeas at 2, the noes at 4. And so the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Could it seem curlish of me to drink it from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust? Pray, forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zykes? Seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Eh? Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the payment was stated, sir. That's right. Took me the whole day, and they paid me a measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me, do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, it is a little less than 2 meters. That's how much I know. In other words, the distance readily vaulted by anyone with moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? Did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the side of your work? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway. We would just turn any gentlefolk back where they came from. Kids just jump right over it. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench meandering down. Ah! Is that true, is it? Incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back from his lodgings, Funatsume walked down Briar Road. Fresh in a single sentence. And, old man. Old man! You can talk? Stayed at around 5 o'clock on the day in question. Slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Oh, I can't say I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager? If you say this old man that the accused, if you say it was this old man that the accused saw, I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Ah! Order! Order! Lord Van Zykes, explain yourself! My lord? You had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve. Why in the world did you not proffer it during the submission examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he didn't know that came for. I wanted him to see for himself, but the opinion of the jury was so readily swayed. My hospitality has its limits. They have been reached. They've been reached. I took off the coat. So my learned friend. Today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? My lord. The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Next witnesses? Maruhodo, do you know? We've been several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember. One of them being the Scotland Yard policeman, no doubt. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. No matter who Van Sykes brings to the stands as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Sosuke. I know he's innocent. I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle's over. Look at these two characters right here. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Constable Ray Beat, sir. Constable Ray Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. Rolly Beat. Raleigh Beat? There's a pun here. And I'm Mrs. B. Patricia's my name. I am proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife. What's the story here? Well, in truth, I've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. Oh no, it was your husband I was talking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Plus, being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? Sure, I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check the meters, check that meters are reading true. They're responsible for keeping the street clean and lighting and extinguishing our streets. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like police. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, the constable is expected to investigate and solve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor. Lumber. On the day in question, a man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite. They witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. B? That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Raleigh Beat, sir. Nothing to report to the street, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. I like how he says, sir. I like how they spelled it out like that, too. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw in the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir! I like this witness. What the witnesses saw. It was our wedding anniversary, and Raleigh was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went to help at the nearby police office. It was definitely that Japanese man at the dock. Raleigh and I both saw him clear as day. But there was fog. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Oh dear. I mean to have positively identified Mr. Their testimonies. The alternative course of events that you established in the patient examination will be squashed. death knell because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate chance on your wedding anniversary too.
Oh, I know. I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that.
Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. However, cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have the rest. You may well have time for the rest this afternoon. You mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing. They are testifying under oath that it was without a doubt the accused Mr. Sosuke Natsume. One of those witnesses, policemen. But you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. But the man's so tired, his wife had to do all the talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense. Commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. The witness. Oh, okay.
Hold it!
These silhouettes? That's right, they were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That sound exactly like Mr. Yes, ultimately does. You're certain that at the time there was nobody else nearby? Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark and there was but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There's nobody else around at all. Is that right, my darling? Oh, yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. Briar Road is dead straight and you could see a fairly long way down the pavement. There is a street light as well. There's street lighting as well. I don't see any. The street. Before sleep takes a firm hold. Your answer, please, Mr. Are you quite sure of what you've just said?
Yes, sir. As a copper who spends all day every day keeping watch on the streets, I swear to it, sir.
As my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat. Oh, Raleigh. Let me take that note. Aren't you like that? Maybe how it really happened. Like there's nowhere to run. Well, thought Mr. He did it. He fled the scene all too convincingly. Vicky, I believe you have a reasonably clear idea of how the situation of the incident was now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
Hold it!
Scattered something? What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time, but when it got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? What? Ah, yes, that's right. It was some old books. I see. Books. Yes, sir, the couplet has dropped a number of them, all around the victim laying on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print. That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed.
Hold it!
Let's not forget, it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. But we saw him. It was the man at the dock without a doubt, without a question, sir. The mustache, the hunched back, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Everything. else you want to throw in?
That's right, he looked down at the poor defenseless woman with those terrifyingly intense eyes and suddenly threw his books into the pavement and ran away. I hate stuff.
You seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court, this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue.
Yes, sir. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police. Definitely deputy.
Hold it!
Surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have an exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Right. Light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes, and for the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe.
It is an absolute menace for those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. When it's thick, you can't see the end of your own arm. That's alright. Now, stop shaking this bit about. The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. And we can tell for sure and for certain that it was the little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
Ah, yes. It's the accused, and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, and the cat-like eyes. Hot mouth, just no.
No, unmistakable, sir!
Where is the couple's testimony? Question.
That's it, is it?
Your entire testimony?
I think, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. B saw what they saw. It's not seeing me running away from Briar Road that day. Yes, I think that's true.
The jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this.
Oh no. Ew. Because of us, remember?
What are you trying to say? I think he would find a contradiction somewhere else with the testimony. Somewhere else? Even about saying this is unequivocal. Calling that into question, to identify some other part of their testimony. Here's the contradicting facts. Might be able to discredit them. Make the jury doubt if the pair's memory that day is accurate. Oh, right.
Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in the statement somewhere else.
So, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Why do I always see it? Oh no, I didn't get to on my MP. Oh well.
Hold it!
Your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am a proud wife of one, after all. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yes, that's right. I asked Miss Go. I was off duty at that point. The Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her to find the police box. Given my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia to play the police box with Vincent. I ran as quickly as I could and asked help from Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple of working together, you know? Thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. Action. 2 model citizens. Oh please, you're making us blush, isn't he, darling?
Yes, sir! What Patricia said, sir!
Let's move on. Move on, shall we? Kinda hard.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say. You also a member of the police? Mrs. B? Oh no, sadly not. The job for strapping men only. Women and children and the elderly can't even apply.
Well, I think you can probably see why children and I think you can probably see why the children and elderly can't apply.
I think Rolino's looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't he? Doesn't it, darling? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his... Oh no, Rolly, I'd much prefer you in your uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Hey, that doesn't seem healthy. Trying to get here to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir. Yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, just spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I will serve my city and my queen to the end. That now? I want cards, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it, as a reminder to us all, to all policemen, of our sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London, town, down, and uphold the peace of the common area. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without grumble. Because I know that the plying of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it. But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary with my wife. Mrs. B puts up a lot of being married to a Bobby like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat. Oh, Raleigh. For these two. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. A little over the top, perhaps. Then, kindly describe what happened next. Okay, I think I've pressed all of it. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've been told you so far, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony, is that right? Is it? Well, out with it! What? No, it was really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything, oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could, every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is? That will do, Mrs. B. No, I won't. No, it won't do at all. Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Raleigh will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down. Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. B. Might that appease you? Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? Tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped. 4 books! Got him! I got him. He dropped 3 books. He also bought 3 books. He didn't. It was 4 force. Objection! So, you're saying that there were 4 books? That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and the Thingamagummy something. I'm sorry, Mrs. B. But there is a fundamental flaw in the statement of yours. Oh no, what flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4! What? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see, there are only 3 books. But no, that can't be. I saw them. Oh, I know what this is. You can't fool me. Sorry. It's that big old lump of a dead body. That lady's so large, her corpse is blocking view of the 4th book, that's all. Let's at least try to remember that the poor woman isn't dead, even if we are insulting her size. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. B. But Mr. Natsumi couldn't possibly have dropped 4 books as you described. Why not? Fascinating. And from your assured tone, something can be readily sustainable with evidence, I presume. Ah, evidence. Counsel, you will present evidence to substantiate your claim or withdraw it. What proof do you have that the curse did not drop 4 books? The fucking receipt.
Take that!
The evidence is right here, in the form of this bookshop receipt. Your books? Yes, this receipt details Mr. Natsumi's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. No! Therefore, Mr. Natsumi would have only dropped 3 books at the scene of the crime. Which means that your powers of observation, madam, can't be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no! Oh no! No! No!
Objection!
They had to throw showing a punch. Plainly evident that this is your that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon. Bunny's friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact you know very well you have no hope of disproving. Ah! So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? Ugh. Right through me. Your plan is somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? Quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. The policeman's wife, her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Oh? The matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found. But what about the photographic print? Only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen. That print. That print? You mean to say? Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand. What's that say?
The Ion's Pride. Oh, the Lion's Pride. That's an L, not an apostrophe. The Lion's Pride?
I don't believe it. It's the fourth book.
As you will observe, the fourth book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso.
No. No! Order, order! Hey there, you see? You see? Look at that! Look, look, look! Yes? Just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir! Patricia's always right, sir!
I have studied the receipt of the books purchased by the accused in the day in question.
Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please. Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other?
The picture of Monsieur Lecoq.
What's it, yearnings?
Canterbury yearnings.
A meal for someone.
Meal for Gaborio? In fact. The Kurt just heard. The witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's power of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
You hear that, Raleigh? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Miss Beat mentioned 4.
There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the fourth book is what's shown in the photographic print. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why would the fourth book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. Photographic print clearly shows the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim.
The victim was holding her own book? I wonder, what became of that fourth book?
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officer from Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence.
You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to court, counsel.
My pleasure, my lord. Alright, we got 2 new pieces of evidence. Prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend, but your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused's lodgings you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile.
Walk right into this line.
You see, everything we said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat.
So, perhaps, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have made, or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Listen, Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I back it the wrong way now, I could very well make matters worse. What else do you think? What do you do now? I'll raise an objection, dude.
Objection!
I'm not done yet.
No, my learned friend. It's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There's no more room for debate.
Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say.
I may, Lord Van Sykes.
It seems somewhat boorish to close down debate at this point. Your insignificant little eastern isle might be a lawless hole indeed, or for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to interfere at a moment like this. Oh! I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. You'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential in her opinions invaluable. Mr. Naruhodo. One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So, the court will hear you. The court will hear you, madam. Go ahead, Mr. Sado, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Mr. Naruhodo? Is it possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for? The judge is sure to ask members of the jury to announce their name. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. But we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. I understand, and thank you. That has been managed to give us one last chance here. Can't let this go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers profound insight in this case, and has hitherto been overlooked. This. Oh, look at this! The book has been badly burnt. You're right. Never being able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. Terrible waste, judging from the books that paper very recent. Recently damaged by fire. You guys seem to raise a flag with me? I mean, I feel like that fire will do it. The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. It's the fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Ugh. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on it. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence was contained in hitherto undiscovered clue. I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Will I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Naruhodo. I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence. Means it may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue in this case, which the fourth book conceals? I think it's a giant burn mark, am I right?
Got it!
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? Do you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp! Well, you have to ask yourself, why was the victim clutching what is very clearly an unreadable book? Undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to be doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese? Oh? Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there's nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert this fire damage is a veiled clue as to what happened that day. Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? Charred book? There's just one possibility, which I can't quite bring myself to read. Outside chance, certainly. Worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting you can ascertain from this fire damage of the starry tone has suffered?
Let's go ahead and save real quick.
My lord, the burn on the back of the book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon? But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was grasping it in her hand as she fell over the floor. The floor is obviously hers. The question of how the book came to be on the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the question of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has a very credible answers. Good gracious, how could you possibly? Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to deny your inevitable demise. Delay your inevitable demise. Do you remember? But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you for your little gamble if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of the trial. So tell the court, who do you claim the owner of this book belongs? Who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book? I think it's this guy, right? Because he burnt his carpet burned down.
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb, the landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for this jury duty, of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadeb herself. Oh my goodness, me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadeb's wife. I'm his maid. It's so much easier if you would drop the pretense. Alright, then how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house? I never would have. I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate this hardworking member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable. That's not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know, on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed in the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house. Good lord! What sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. Great to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Didn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Of course, as it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride? By Jove! That is the very same title as the subject of this debate. Oh dear me! This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire, in which case it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself from the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was a martial discord. Marital? I don't know. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garadeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garadeb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid. The one you love, can you, Rolly? Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. Had all my favorite old novels in that case, but as soon as the fire got hold of them, what was it? Whoosh, up in smoke. And the wife started hurling things at me. There I was, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books come in 10 to the dozen. Man had his back up against the window. He had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident. There was no report of the Garrett's window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrett household. But it's not inconceivable but is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time? And not even remotely. Let's not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Ah! Does the defense postulate the scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found in the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garrett's wife? I believe it is a possibility, my lord. That's quite enough. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. Call yourself a lawyer, but you're a coward, a mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight? Honestly, implying that I am merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake? How could you? This has nothing to do with it's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. No, I assure you, it was never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen thing through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, and that's what I should do. That's utterly unforgivable. Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could have possibly stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache, and he ran away from the scene too. I do declare you're right. True. Yes, what did I tell you? Makes sense to me. Sorry? What's that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What's your position, Lord Van Sykes? Truth, my lord. I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings, but then one must always exercise patience in favor of the best vintage. No, wait! The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... Oh, he did it with his leg. If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them in your own time. What? No forgive the discourtesy this time? Ahem. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty.
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 Oh no! Do we have to do the thing again? Thank you for that unambiguous response. Twice now, it's over. Naruhodo, don't give up. So no. Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course, the defense has the right to do another summation examination at this point. Don't convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anyone. I intend to uncover the truth. No time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. He continued. Ooh. And we are definitely being cornered here. But we're gonna actually call it there for the stream for there. Part 1 of the trial went long. Went pretty long. We're gonna go ahead and send a raid over to let's see, live. Yeah, space is live. Yeah, sure. Raid space. Go ahead and raid space. We're gonna go ahead and most likely conclude this case tomorrow, or at least hopefully it's concluding tomorrow. We're gonna do part 2 of the trial tomorrow. Hopefully, if my schedule works out as how I think it will. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and for now we're gonna go ahead and end stream right over to space playing Lies of P. I encourage everyone to make the Lies of A through O joke. You know, it's an oldie but a goodie. But before we go, we have to do the thing. Well, now it's time for So Long. But we'll sing just one more song. Thanks for doing your part, 'cause you're real smart, except for you and you, and that guy too. We can do anything that I wanna do. Bye everybody, thanks for watching. See ya. See you next time.